And God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the water and let there be separation between water and water. So I have a previous video which got sort of like cut short because of a phone call, but I'm just going to continue with verse 7. And I did have what to say about this verse. Verse 7 says, and God made the expanse. Now, when it's talking about God, when it uses the word God here, because there's many different ways of using speaking about God in Judaism and in Hebrew. So when it says Bereshit, Bere Elohim, and then verse 2 is Elohim. Verse 3 is Elohim. 4 is Vere Elohim. And Hey is also Elohim. And Vav, same. And now we're up to 7. And now, so often Elohim, it's translated as God. So what about Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? Which is we would say in English Hashem, right? Which means a name. That's actually a Hebrew word. It means the name. So Elohim or Elohim is the aspect of as Hashem as a judge, or as maybe we might call the laws of nature. And Yud Kei Vav Kei is Rachamim, where it's divine mercy, divine kindness. And this is a massive aspect, a massive theological discussion, philosophical discussion within Judaism about Elohim and Yud Kei Vav Kei, and also when the names are combined, and other names in the Torah and other names in Judaism that are mentioned when describing how we understand Hashem, because obviously Elohim Hashem is actually only is echad. And there's not other gods. There's not multiple aspects of God. God doesn't have feelings. God doesn't have emotions. God doesn't mean anything. God doesn't smell anything. God doesn't have an arm or eyes or nostrils or lightning bolts or anything that even the Torah says it. And later Nevi'im saw Hashem as an old man, or Hashem wearing tefillin, or Hashem's back, or they saw all these things that they said, and they actually wrote down, which were God's words, because of the voice prophecy, which means that they had no choice in what they wrote. Still, with all that, with all these examples that are actually written down, thanks to Rambam, Maimonides, who lived in the 1100s in Spain, almost no Jew really in the last 2,000 years, maybe a little bit more, let's say 1,200 years, maybe almost nobody thinks that Hashem actually has a body or has feelings. I know we still express it that way, but it doesn't mean we really have gotten around to accepting the Rambam, the Maimonides approach to Hashem and his description in the Guide for the Perplexed, where he answers massive philosophical questions. One of them, which is why does the Torah speak about Hashem using human terms, anthropomorphic? You get the idea. Why is it used words like hand and arm and smell and anger and all these things? So he answers those questions, and that's not really for the point of this video, but I'm going a little off track. Okay. Verse 7, and Elohim, or as this says, and God made, but it's important that we distinguish between Yud Kei Vav, Elohim and Yud Kei Vav Kei, and when they're together, when they're mentioned together, and what's a little bit going on here. But right now, we're not even finished with day 2, and we're still in the concept of Elohim. And God made the expanse, and it's separated between. Okay. Right. Okay. So we said that in 6, we said the separation between water and water. And 7 says, and God made the expanse and separated between the water that was below and the expanse and the water that was above the expanse. So maybe those are the comments, because like, what's above the expanse? If the expanse is like, let's say what we call the solar system or the universe. So we're not, again, the Torah isn't clear. I mean, it's using words, and concepts, but like, what does it really mean that was above the expanse? What's above the expanse? And God called the expanse heaven, and it was, so now he gives it a name. So before it was an expanse, and now it's calling it Shemaim, Rakea al Shemaim. And it was evening and it was morning, a second day. Now remember, day 1 was not called the first day, it was called Yom Echad. It stood, like according to Rashi and other Meforshim, it stood alone. the first day. And God said, so now we're finished, and it was morning, it was morning a second day. And God said again, V'yomer Elohim, let the water that is beneath the heavens gather into one place, and let the dry land appear. And so it was, and it was so. So now it seems like we're discussing the earth that we all live on. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas, and he saw that it was good. Now it's very interesting. He gathered all into one place, the water. No. Yeah, the water beneath the heavens and gathered into one place, and then the dry land appeared. Maybe this is like when we had the ice age that the anthropologists and the historians speak about. All the water was gathered into one place. All the water was frozen, and then slowly, in the dry land, there was much more dry land, right? Because there was the oceans that shrank because it all condensed into the ice ages, and there's been multiple ice ages, and then that ended, and now we have the seas that we know about. Okay, that's interesting. This is something that I'm just stating now. I just thought of this now. And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, because obviously if you're in the middle of an ice age and it's super cold, you can't have vegetation. Seed yielding herbs and fruit trees producing fruit according to its kind, in which its seed is found on the earth. And so it was, so. So what was supposed to happen? It was that the trees were supposed to taste like the fruit, and they didn't do that, which means they sinned, quote unquote. I don't know. This is again a concept that the Meforshim bring, which I don't know, don't really understand that. And because the trees didn't taste like the fruit, the third day doesn't say, and it wasn't fully complete. We don't say it was good. About the second day, and the earth gave forth vegetation, seed yielding herbs according to its kind, and trees producing fruit in which the seed is found according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And it was evening and it was morning, a third day. So on the day 2, we don't say that the Yom Sheni doesn't say Vayi Tov, which actually has a lot of weight in customs in Judaism, is we try not to do things on the second day, like just in general. I mean, we do, obviously, we go to work, but it's kind of seen as a day that's not so positive because of this. And it was evening and it was morning, a third day. And okay, I'm going to stop here because I think this video is going along, and I'll continue on with Yud Dalet, verse Yud Dalet.